Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like you're chasing a ghost in a relationship? Like every time you get close, he pulls away. One day he's all in, and the next he's distant, cold, unreachable. Sound familiar? Then, my friend, you might be dealing with an avoidant. One of the most frustrating experiences in dating an avoidant is the constant cycle of mixed signals. One day he's texting you nonstop, making plans, showering you with attention. He seems genuinely interested, almost like he can't get enough of you. Then out of nowhere, he disappears. His responses slow down, his enthusiasm fades, and suddenly you feel like you're talking to a completely different person. You start to wonder, did I say something wrong? Did I push too hard? But the truth is, this has nothing to do with you. It's not about what you did or didn't do. It's about his deep-rooted fear of intimacy. Avoidants crave connection just like everyone else. They're not robots. They experience attraction. They enjoy companionship, and they can even fall in love. But here's the catch. When things start to feel too close, when they sense emotional intimacy growing, their subconscious alarms go off. For them, getting close to someone feels like stepping into dangerous territory. They don't always do this on purpose, and they may not even be aware of their own patterns. But the moment their emotions start to deepen, fear takes over, and their first instinct is to retreat. This push and pull dynamic creates a roller coaster effect in relationships. It's confusing, it's exhausting, and it keeps you in a constant state of anxiety. When he's present, it feels amazing. You feel special, chosen, wanted. But the moment he pulls back, the uncertainty creeps in. You find yourself questioning everything. Did I come on too strong? Should I give him more space? You may even start to believe that if you just adjust your behavior, he'll come back for good. But that's the trap. The cycle isn't about what you do. It's about his internal conflict. What's even more frustrating is that when he senses you pulling away, he often comes right back. The moment he feels like he's losing you, his fear of abandonment kicks in. He might send a random text, check in with you, or even plan a last-minute date to keep you engaged. It's not that he suddenly realized your worth, it's that he's trying to maintain a comfortable distance, close enough to keep you around, but not so close that he feels vulnerable. This pattern isn't love. It's not healthy connection. It's emotional unavailability at its finest. But if you don't recognize it for what it is, it's easy to mistake it for passion. Many people caught in this cycle believe that the highs and lows mean the relationship is special, that the unpredictability makes it more exciting. But real love doesn't confuse you. Real love doesn't make you question your worth. If you constantly feel like you're decoding someone's feelings or trying to earn their affection, you're not in a healthy relationship, you're stuck in a game you'll never win. The key is to stop chasing the highs and start recognizing the pattern for what it is. When you see it clearly, you regain your power. When you're with an avoidant, one of the biggest red flags is his resistance to defining the relationship. In the beginning, things might feel effortless. There's chemistry, excitement, and it seems like you're heading towards something real. But the moment you try to clarify what you mean to each other, he dodges the conversation like his life depends on it. Maybe you ask, so where do you see this going? And he responds with something vague like, I really like spending time with you. Let's just enjoy the moment. It sounds nice on the surface, but in reality, it's a way of keeping the relationship in a gray area where he doesn't have to commit. This avoidance of labels isn't just about keeping things casual, it's a defense mechanism. An avoidant has a deep fear of being trapped, of losing his independence, of getting too emotionally invested in something that might require him to be vulnerable. Labels feel like change to him, something that forces him into a level of emotional responsibility he isn't comfortable with. So instead of embracing commitment, he avoids it altogether. He keeps things open-ended, undefined, and full of excuses. At first, you might convince yourself that it's okay. You tell yourself, maybe he just needs more time. Maybe if I don't push, he'll eventually be ready. But that day never comes. Weeks turn into months, and every time you try to revisit the conversation, he finds a way to steer it in another direction. He'll say things like, why do we need a label? Isn't what we have enough? Or labels ruin things. Let's just go with the flow. And because you're invested, you might start to believe that he just loves differently, that he needs patience, that if you show him how great you are, he'll change his mind. But the hard truth is, An avoidant doesn't just wake up one day and decide he's ready. If commitment was what he wanted, he wouldn't be making excuses. What makes this situation even harder is that outside of this one issue, everything else might seem perfect. He may treat you well, show affection, and make you feel wanted until the moment you bring up defining the relationship. That's when the walls go up. And if you press too hard, he might even pull away completely, leaving you feeling like you ruined something good by asking for clarity. But you didn't ruin anything. You simply revealed what was already there. Man who truly values you will not hesitate to claim you. He will not make you feel like you're asking for too much by wanting security in a relationship. The truth is, if someone wants to be with you, they will make it clear. They won't keep you guessing. They won't make you feel insecure, and they won't avoid defining the relationship. If you find yourself constantly questioning where you stand, the answer is already clear. You're dealing with someone who is emotionally unavailable, and no amount of patience will change that. Being with an avoidant can feel like an emotional roller coaster. One day he's all in, texting you frequently, making plans, showering you with attention. You feel like you've finally broken through his walls, like he's truly letting you in. But just when you start to relax and believe things are progressing, something shifts. Suddenly he seems distant. He takes longer to reply, cancels plans, or acts uninterested. You rack your brain wondering what you did wrong. Did you say too much? Were you too available? Should you have played harder to get? But the truth is, none of this is about you. It's the classic push and pull pattern of an avoidant attachment style. An avoidant wants connection, but he fears intimacy. When he feels safe and comfortable, he leans in. He might be affectionate, express admiration, and even act as if he's ready for something serious. But the moment he senses the emotional intensity growing, his instincts tell him to retreat. This cycle isn't intentional, but it is deeply ingrained. His subconscious belief is that too much closeness means a loss of independence, vulnerability, or emotional overwhelm. So he withdraws not because you did something wrong, but because being close triggers his internal fears. This hot and cold behavior is incredibly confusing for the person on the receiving end. One moment you feel adored, the next you feel like a burden. You start overanalyzing every interaction, wondering if you should pull back too just to keep his attention. You may even find yourself justifying his actions. Maybe he's just busy. Maybe he's stressed. Maybe he needs space. And while those things might be true occasionally, if you notice this pattern repeating over and over, it's not about his schedule or external stressors. It's about his inability to maintain emotional closeness consistently. What's even more frustrating is that when you begin to mirror his distance, when you finally stop reaching out, stop checking in, stop making an effort, he suddenly reappears. He'll send a message, act sweet again, maybe even apologize for being distant. This is because avoidants don't want to lose the connection entirely. They just want it on their terms. They don't like too much closeness, but they also fear complete abandonment. So they engage just enough to keep you hooked, pulling you back in whenever they sense you might be slipping away. Over time, this cycle becomes emotionally draining. You find yourself walking on eggshells, trying to do everything right so he doesn't retreat again. But love shouldn't feel like a constant game of strategy. If someone truly cares about you, their affection won't be conditional on how much space you give them or how well you play the game. A man who is emotionally available won't make you feel uncertain about where you stand. The back and forth behavior of an avoidant is a reflection of his internal struggles, not a reflection of your worth. And once you recognize this cycle for what it is, you can finally decide whether you want to keep riding the roller coaster or step off for good. An avoidant man often places an extreme emphasis on his independence, using it as a shield to keep people at a distance. While independence is an admirable quality, there's a difference between having a strong sense of self and using space as an excuse to avoid emotional intimacy. When you're with an avoidant, you'll notice that he talks about his need for freedom constantly. He'll say things like, "I don't like to feel tied down," or "I need a lot of alone time," or "relationships shouldn't feel suffocating." At first, this might seem like he's just a self-sufficient person who values autonomy, but over time, it becomes clear that what he's really doing is keeping you at arm's length. When you try to get closer, he will subtly create distance, making sure that you never get too comfortable in his world. Maybe he avoids introducing you to his friends and family. Maybe he insists on maintaining separate lives to an extreme degree. Or maybe he simply disappears for days without explanation, only to return as if nothing happened. He wants the connection, but only on his terms. Anytime he senses that the relationship is requiring more emotional investment, he retreats, using his so-called need for space as justification. This pattern can be incredibly confusing because in the moments he does engage, he might seem deeply connected and present. You share meaningful conversations, intimate moments, and experiences that make you feel like he truly values you. But just when you start to believe you're forming a solid bond, he suddenly pulls back. He might cancel plans, withdraw emotionally, or even tell you outright that he just isn't ready for anything serious. This inconsistency leaves you feeling like you have to tiptoe around him, afraid that if you ask for too much, he'll see you as needy or clingy. The truth is, real relationships require a level of interdependence. It's not about losing yourself in someone else, but about finding a balance where both people feel valued, supported, and secure. Avoidants, however, view emotional closeness as a threat rather than a source of comfort. They equate deep connection with losing control, and their instinct is to preserve their independence at all costs, even if it means sabotaging relationships with people who genuinely care about them. If you constantly feel like you're asking for crumbs of attention or are afraid to bring up emotional topics because he might pull away, you're not in a healthy relationship. Someone who truly values you won't make you feel guilty for wanting connection. He won't see emotional intimacy as a burden. Instead, he'll see it as something that strengthens the bond between you. A man who truly cares will make space for you in his life, not treat your presence as an inconvenience. Once you recognize that extreme independence in relationships isn't about strength, but avoidance, you can stop blaming yourself and start seeing the situation for what it really is. When you're with an avoidant, one of the most frustrating things you'll notice is how difficult it is to get him to open up emotionally. He may be charming, fun, and engaging when things are lighthearted, but the moment the conversation takes a deeper turn, he shuts down. You try to express your feelings, hoping for a reciprocal response, but instead, you're met with vague replies, awkward silence, or an attempt to change the subject. You might say something like, "I really enjoy spending time with you," expecting a warm response, but he simply nods and says, "Yeah, we have fun." It's not that he doesn't feel anything. It's that he doesn't know how to process or express emotions in a way that fosters closeness. Avoidants are uncomfortable with vulnerability. They've often learned, whether through past relationships or childhood experiences, that expressing emotions leads to disappointment, rejection, or even pain. As a result, they build walls to protect themselves. Rather than risk feeling exposed, they develop habits that help them maintain emotional distance. They might keep conversations superficial, make jokes when things get serious, or become visibly uncomfortable when you try to discuss feelings or future plans. At first, you might excuse this behavior. You tell yourself, maybe he just needs more time. Maybe he wasn't raised in an emotionally expressive household. Maybe he shows his feelings in different ways. And while some people do struggle with communication, the real issue with avoidance is that they don't just have trouble expressing emotions, they actively avoid them. They feel safest when emotions are kept at a manageable surface level. They can enjoy spending time with you, but if the connection starts to feel too deep, too real, or too intense, their instinct is to retreat. This lack of emotional depth can leave you feeling unfulfilled and disconnected. You might start questioning yourself, wondering if you're asking for too much. You may find yourself lowering your expectations, trying to convince yourself that it's okay if he never says "I love you" or never initiates meaningful conversations. But over time, this emotional void takes a toll. You crave a connection where you feel seen and understood, where your emotions are met with warmth rather than indifference. What's even more frustrating is that avoidants often don't see this as a problem. From their perspective, everything is fine because they're comfortable. They don't feel the same emotional hunger that you do. They believe that as long as they're physically present, that should be enough. But real relationships require more than just being around someone. They require emotional investment. If you constantly feel like you're talking to a wall, struggling to get even the smallest glimpse of his inner world, it's a clear sign that you're dealing with someone who is emotionally unavailable. And the truth is, no matter how much you love someone, You cannot force them to be emotionally present if they are unwilling to go there themselves. An avoidant man will often make you feel like you're the one asking for too much. In the beginning, things may seem effortless. He enjoys spending time with you. There's chemistry and everything flows naturally. But as time goes on and you begin expressing your needs, whether it's more consistency, communication, or emotional openness, he starts to make you feel like the problem. He might say things like, "Why can't you just relax?" Or "You're overthinking things." Instead of addressing your concerns, he dismisses them, making you question whether you're being unreasonable. This is one of the most damaging aspects of being with an avoidant. You start to internalize the idea that wanting emotional connection is somehow excessive. You might find yourself suppressing your own needs, trying to be the cool and low-maintenance partner just to avoid pushing him away. You tell yourself, maybe I should just go with the flow. Maybe I should give him more space. Maybe I need to be more patient. But deep down, you know something isn't right. A healthy relationship doesn't make you feel like you're walking on eggshells, afraid that asking for reassurance or clarity will make the other person pull away. The reality is an avoidant doesn't want to be responsible for someone else's emotions. He struggles to regulate his own feelings, let alone handle yours. So when you express your needs, instead of meeting you with understanding, he becomes defensive. He may even make you feel guilty for wanting more, as if your desire for connection is an inconvenience to him. Over time, this dynamic can chip away at your self-worth. You start doubting yourself, wondering if you're truly too needy, when in reality, all you're asking for is basic emotional reciprocity. What makes this even more confusing is that he will often give just enough to keep you hooked. The moment he senses that you're truly pulling away, he may throw you a breadcrumb, an affectionate text, a thoughtful gesture, or a brief moment of vulnerability. This gives you hope that maybe he's changing, that maybe he does care, and you just need to be patient. But this cycle repeats itself over and over. He keeps the relationship in a space where he feels comfortable, close enough to enjoy the connection, but distant enough to avoid real emotional responsibility. A truly healthy relationship is one where both people feel safe expressing their needs without fear of being dismissed or labeled as too much. If someone makes you feel like wanting love, consistency, and commitment is asking for the world, they are not the right person for you. Love should not feel like a constant battle to prove your worth or minimize your needs. The moment you start believing that asking for basic emotional availability is unreasonable, you've already lost yourself in a relationship that will never truly fulfill you. Recognizing this is the first step toward reclaiming your power and choosing the kind of love that values and honors who you are. When it comes to identifying an avoidant man, the most important thing to understand is that his behavior is not about you. It's about his own deep-seated fears of intimacy and emotional vulnerability. Avoidants often operate in a way that leaves their partners feeling confused, insecure, and unfulfilled. They may give mixed signals, avoid commitment, create emotional distance, and make you feel like you're asking for too much. But the truth is, you are not too much. You are simply asking for what any healthy, loving relationship requires: emotional availability, consistency, and connection. The challenge with an avoidant is that they struggle to meet those basic relationship needs, and no amount of patience, love, or understanding can force them to change unless they want to. It's easy to fall into the trap of believing that if you just wait long enough, prove your worth, or love them in the right way, they will eventually open up. You may think that with time they will realize what they have and finally be ready to commit. But this rarely happens. Avoidants are not motivated by emotional closeness the way secure individuals are. Instead, they feel safest when they maintain a level of independence that keeps them from feeling vulnerable. The more you chase them, the more they withdraw. The more you try to get them to open up, the more they shut down. It's a painful cycle that leaves you questioning yourself while they remain comfortable in their emotional detachment. A healthy relationship is not one where you have to convince someone to stay, to love you fully, or to meet your emotional needs. A man who is ready and willing to be in a relationship will not make you feel uncertain, insecure, or emotionally starved. He will not keep you guessing about his feelings or make you feel like you're demanding too much for simply wanting clarity and commitment. The right man will show up for you consistently, communicate openly, and make you feel safe in the relationship. Love should feel stable, not like an emotional roller coaster that leaves you anxious and exhausted. If you recognize these patterns in your relationship, the best thing you can do is stop trying to change and avoid it and start prioritizing yourself. Ask yourself, am I truly happy here? Do I feel valued? Is this relationship bringing me peace or constant frustration? The moment you realize that you deserve better is the moment you take your power back. Walking away from an avoidant doesn't mean you don't care about them. It means you care about yourself more. It means you refuse to settle for a relationship that only gives you breadcrumbs of love when you deserve the full meal. In the end, the most powerful thing you can do is choose yourself. You cannot fix, heal, or change someone who is unwilling to meet you halfway, but you can choose to walk away from a situation that is draining you and find a relationship that fulfills you in every way. Love should be a partnership, not a struggle. The right man will not make you feel like loving him is a battle. You won't have to fight for a place in his life. So if you've been holding on, waiting for an avoidant to change, it's time to let go and make space for the love that you truly deserve. Thank you all for taking the time to listen and reflect on this important topic. Understanding avoidant behavior is not just about recognizing patterns in others. It's about valuing yourself enough to know what you truly deserve in a relationship. Love should never feel like a constant struggle for attention, clarity, or commitment. The moment you start prioritizing your own emotional well-being is the moment you step into your true power. If you've been stuck in this cycle, know that you are not alone and you are not asking for too much. You deserve a love that is stable, fulfilling, and reciprocated. You deserve someone who chooses you wholeheartedly, not someone who keeps you at a distance out of fear or emotional unavailability. The best decision you can ever make is to walk away from what drains you and move toward what truly fulfills you. I hope this message resonated with you and gave you clarity on your own journey. Never settle for less than you deserve, and never let someone else's emotional limitations make you question your worth. Keep growing, keep loving yourself, and trust that the right person will meet you where you are, without hesitation, without fear, and without conditions. Thank you once again for your time, your presence, and your willingness to reflect on these important lessons. Keep striving for the love and connection you truly deserve. Take care, stay strong, and until next time, goodbye.